how do I discipline this young little one that I have in my care without resorting to physical violence? Because as the way I see it, slavery day is done. Massa used to beat me because Massa was interested in getting us to behave so that we could pick the cotton and plant the sugar cane and do all that kind of thing. And we know Massa had to break we back because, well, otherwise we wouldn't be slaves. Stop shaking up the camera. You see what I mean? You see what I mean?
I'm right now a PhD candidate at UC Berkeley. I study clinical psychology and I specialize specifically in childhood psychology and family psychology.
I don't want to give my child licks anytime. What to do?
The first thing that I'll say is that it is super important to keep in mind that oftentimes punishment may seem like it works immediately, but it actually doesn't teach what the behavior that you want is, right? So if you punish and you say, don't do X, the child who's receiving that punishment actually doesn't know in that moment what the correct behavior that you want to be seeing from them is.
Come down from that bed right now. Don't jump on the bed.
If you tell Leisha, don't jump on the bed, that's the only thing she knows. She could roll on the bed. She could jump on the floor. She could do an endless number of other things, right? Mm-hmm. If what you want is stand with your feet on the floor or come and sit on my lap, right? That's a completely different instruction.
Yeah.
And so with punishment, all you sort of are doing is communicating one thing that they shouldn't be doing. But even after administering whatever that punishment might be, Leisha in that example may not have the information of what you actually wanted her to do. And that often is why you see punishment doesn't always really work in the long run because it's not teaching what you actually want to see. You can explicitly say to your child, I'm stepping away from the situation so that I can decide what we're going to do about it. And I think that oftentimes parents shy away from kind of expressing that they are engaging in certain strategies or taking time away to make a decision. And I think that communicating clearly with children is always incredibly important. And in addition to that, I think thinking about, again, that Lex, for example, doesn't teach what you actually want to see. It only teaches what you don't want to do, which is only one very narrow slice of the piece, really. And that also there are situations in which, in terms of stepping back, you can realize that something else was going on, right? So as we're talking about anxiety, tantrums or changes in behavior is actually oftentimes what anxiety looks like in young children. And so in this kind of context in particular, if you are noticing increased difficult behaviors from your child, taking a step back and thinking through what could be causing that is also really important. And if you've kind of taken a step back and realized, I did notice that so-and-so had a stomach ache earlier and then started doing this thing that they know they're not supposed to do, right? As opposed to kind of engaging in that moment and say giving licks for the thing they're not supposed to do, you might, by taking that step back, realize maybe they're feeling like they haven't seen their friends for a long time. Maybe they're feeling, as Leisha mentioned, scared about getting sick. And then you might be able to have that conversation about what's actually driving the behaviors as opposed to giving licks for something that was really just a surface level showing up of what might have been going on. As much as possible, when you are responding to your child or sort of trying to tell your child what you want, try and phrase things in what you actually do want to see from them, right? So as opposed to, don't jump on the bed, try and phrase that as stand with your feet on, keep your feet on the floor, right? Or whatever the actual behavior that you do want to see is. Having some sort of a space where you can kind of take away any reinforcements from the child that may be, something that they enjoy, right? And have time for them to also cool off in whatever way that might be, right? So sometimes a lot of people use things like timeout or naughty corner and say that it may not be working. But when you really look into it, there's a TV in the room where the naughty corner is, right? Or there's another child in the room where the naughty corner is. And so actually going to the naughty corner isn't really a threat in any way because it's not that bad. And another piece to keep in mind that happens a lot, especially in times when we're really frustrated, is as much as possible, try and avoid making threats for punishments that you may not actually follow through on, right? So if in that moment you say something like, all right, well, you can't watch TV for the next month, right? That's not really going to happen. And all that ends up being learned in that situation is sometimes I get punished and sometimes I don't.
You're full of big chatter, can't defend that.
That's not what you want to teach. Try and have things ready to go that you know are implementable. So 5 minutes in timeout or whatever it might be, that's your go-to.